Welcome to Reading Every X-Men Comic Ever, the series where I read, recap, and rank every X-Men comic ever. It's been a few weeks since I've read New Mutants, and God, I've missed this book. I've read issues 36 through 45, and the second annual this week, all of which were written by Chris Claremont, with Jackson Guice primarily on art. But we did also have Rick Leonardi on issue 38, Keith Pollard on issue 39, Steve Purcell on issue 43, and Alan Davis for the annual. These issues really cemented this book's place as the best X-Men ongoing in this series right now. It's not even close, which is saying something, because both Uncanny X-Men and X-Factor have been really good as well. This is also the first time we're actually out from Secret Wars 2's shadow. I know I've said that before, but I'm actually being truthful this time, because New Mutants 35 is the first issue we've read that came out after Secret Wars 2 issue 9. Meaning the event is now fully behind us, and we can move on to better things. Now, we are dealing with the consequences of said event in these first issues, considering the entire team got atomized and resurrected without souls, meaning that they are essentially zombies running purely off of instinct and muscle memory. Magneto tries his best to bring the New Mutants back to normal, but nothing he's trying is working. He isn't a telepath, and Chuck's gone, so he makes a deal with the devil for the kids' recovery. The said devil being Emma Frost, and he sends them all away to the Massachusetts Academy. Megs, if only you knew a powerful telepath that currently lived in the mansion and could help these kids, and I think even offered to. Danny and Warlock are the only two to have recovered by this point, and as such, they elect not to go to the Massachusetts Academy with Emma. Danny actually decides she's just going to leave and go home, seeing as there's no point in her staying if the school's closed. Elsewhere on the property, Tom and Sharon, who are the cop and nurse from the Demon Bar arc that got turned native, they find a lone empath on the premises, who makes them then experience pleasure in the highest form, leaving them to mysteriously disappear for a couple days, and when they return, they are traumatized from their experiences. And Magneto figures out that Emma and Empath have been orchestrating this entire plan and manipulating his emotions from the beginning so she can get the kids. Meanwhile, the New Mutants are officially inducted into the Hellions and the Massachusetts Academy, and Emma helps them get back to their normal selves, mostly. She does do some personal modifications to their personalities. Emma then does also realize that Magneto's figured out her entire ploy, so she calls the cops on him, saying he's going to steal some kids, and so the cops call the Avengers. The Avengers head out to stop Magneto from unkidnapping, getting the kids back, and Magneto has to hold himself back from obliterating all of them. Luckily, the mutants step in and get Mags out of the way of the Avengers, and then Emma and Mags team up to properly fix the kids and get their souls back. Going into this, I was wondering how they were going to bring the kids back to normal after what happened to them in the event, and I did not expect Emma to be the answer, or at least part of the answer anyways. I do find it funny that they seemingly either retconned, forgot, or purposefully ignored the part where the Beyonder wiped all memory of the New Mutants' existence from the planet. I guess Claremont realized he backed himself into a corner with that one. Otherwise, these are great issues. Empath does need to be kicked in the teeth though, but that's nothing new, and we'll get there. While that wasn't happening, Danny arrives home in Colorado to see her parents, but when a freak snowstorm hits, she tries to save an old friend who's stuck in the storm, but try as she might, she learns a hard truth. You can't save everyone. Once all the kids are back to normal, Sam heads home for a visit with his family and to introduce his girlfriend Lila to his mom. He also debates on if he should stay home instead of going back to Xavier's. He fights with Lila, but then when her plane goes down, he goes out to rescue her with the help of his little brother. His mom also helps him realize that being with the New Mutants at the Institute is exactly where he needs to be. I love these two solo stories, especially for the co-leaders of the team, but I hope we get more solo stories for the rest of the team at some point. I think they really help flesh out these characters and give us a lot more insight into their history and their lives outside of said team. Danny goes on a journey of self-discovery, and while she doesn't necessarily find the answers to her questions, she does end up learning a very important lesson and more about her Valkyrie powers. Meanwhile, with Sam, we do get a little bit of that self-discovery aspect to it, but it's more of a mundane story where we get to see his family and more of his relationship with Lila, and we also get a surprise Dazzler appearance, which is cool. It's kind of weird that for as mid as Dazzler's series was, I do enjoy whenever Allison shows up in other books, in a way I don't think I would have if I didn't read her series first. Regardless, I'm glad to see Alice is doing well. These next two issues do have a bit more of a spotlight on specific New Mutants characters, but not as much as the last two issues did. Sunspot returns after he left in New Mutants 37 and learns what happened to Tom and Sharon and wants to get revenge on Empath. What follows is the most cathartic issue since Firestar issue 4, especially the last panels where Thunderbird clocks Empath in the face. This issue gets a bonus point for that alone, because God, I hate that fucking kid. Honestly, he deserves way worse, but I'll take what I can get. We then jump to Rain, who's in Ireland visiting her adoptive mother when a piece of machinery breaks, and Rain and Moira are almost killed by it if it wasn't for David, who lets Jack, the sleazebag personality with telekinesis, take control and save them. Unfortunately, Jack doesn't want to give back control to David, so the New Mutants have to chase him down and force Jack to give up control. From there, we move into New Mutants Annual 2, which actually has a couple of firsts for an X-Men book. It is the first appearance of Elizabeth Betsy Braddock in a US book, and it is the first appearance of Mojo outside of the Longshot mini. For those who don't know, Betsy Braddock is Psylocke, but was originally introduced in the Marvel UK exclusive Captain Britain series in the mid-70s, being the twin sister of Brian Braddock, aka Captain Britain. Mojo and Spiral kidnap Betsy Braddock and use her to create a show called Wild Ways, which is actually a ploy to kidnap kids so Mojo can have more slaves, I think. He manages to get Rain, Roberto, two of Karma's siblings, and a few of the kids from the Longshot mini. Doug and Warlock discover Roberto's been replaced when they think they've killed him, so they gather the rest of the team and head out to find the real Sunspot. When they find him and the rest of the kids at this abandoned school, all of whom have been turned into adults with powers, the rest of the New Mutants then succumb to Psylocke's telepathy, except for Warlock, who gets Doug out of there, and Amara, who's too stubborn, so she gets the child treatment. Literally. Doug and Warlock merge to become Douglock and enter Betsy's mind, where they find the actual culprit, Spiral. They save Betsy's mind and all of their teammates, forcing Spiral to retreat and everyone to get put back to normal. Mostly. You see, when Betsy was first taken, she was blind. No eyes whatsoever type of blind. And so Mojo gave her new eyes. But when everything was reversed, the eyes remained, and she couldn't bring herself to destroy the eyes. She then also decides to stay at Xavier's so she can train her telepathy further and maybe not get whammied and taken advantage of again. I have to say, the last few annuals for both this and X-Men have been surprisingly good. Although, the initial X-Men annuals were pretty mid, so that may have set my expectations for these books low. But yeah, this book was great. Mojo and Spiral are equal parts terrifying and fun villains, and they fit really well into the giant-sized kind of annual format. I didn't know this was where Betsy was introduced, so that's pretty cool. I'm excited to see her journey through the future books, and I really like the focus on Doug here, especially since he's usually the one that gets put off to the side, since his ability is more passive. This brings us to New Mutants 45, which is a great issue, but it's also a very serious and very powerful issue. It starts very innocently, with Kitty and the New Mutants being invited to the school dance of one of the local public schools, where they meet a lonely kid named Larry. Larry is secretly a mutant, but when his classmates joke and prank him, saying they called X Factor on him, Larry commits suicide, leaving Kitty and the New Mutants distraught and unsure how to deal with it. Putting this issue directly after both New Mutants Annual 2 and issue 44, I think is deliberate choice by Claremont, or the editorial team. Both of those issues end with the New Mutants stating that part of the reason this team exists is to fight and protect the futures of children, and that makes what happens all the more tragic. Had they had the chance, I think the team really would have done everything in their power to help Larry, but that just wasn't in the cards. I do wonder what that future would have been like. This issue is a great showcase of the allegory that mutanthood in the Marvel Universe represents. Being an outsider, different from those around you in some way, and being discriminated for it. Not only that, but it also shows the ramifications of that discrimination. Obviously to an extreme in Larry's case, but it also shows the results of that discrimination and how that affects others. The fact that this is still incredibly poignant today makes me sad. No one should have to suffer this way, and if any of you watching this or have read this issue feel similarly to Larry, please, please talk to another human about what you're feeling. Whether that be a licensed professional, someone at the end of a helpline, or just someone in your life that you trust. please talk to someone. But I cannot stress enough, don't use an AI chatbot for this. It will not help you, and it might even make what you're feeling worse. So please, talk to a human. No one should have to go through that type of discrimination. The world is better with you in it, and you are stronger than you know. So keep moving forward. It will get better. Promise. On that note, I don't really think there's a great way to transition from that very real, very important message to the rest of this video. So I'm just going to show the rankings now and end the video here. So if you've gotten all the way through this video, I appreciate it. If you liked it, please hit the like buttons. Leave your comments below. And if you've missed any episodes, the entire playlist is in the description. And subscribe to stay tuned for the next one.